Well, I'm very delighted to have 3.5 questions about arts education with my friend Tina Fey, who I'm so honored and delighted to be able to chat with you because I know this is a topic near and dear to your heart and to your family's heart, and we both have
It really is.
talked a lot about
Yeah.
our understanding of the importance of arts education in our lives and what got us here.
Yeah.
I did want to start actually with one very, very quick question, just a clear the air question of um, in your live 30 Rock episode, you had a woman's hand get blown off at one of my concerts, and I just wanted to know if there was.
Is it a good sign that I don't remember that?
I'll never forget it. Well, first of all, it made my life that just that even to be mentioned on the show made me happy. But then it also kind of like brought about this like cool cred, like that perhaps there's so much pyro happening at one of my concerts that you just if you reach out just
Yeah.
a little too
There's so
far, it's dangerous.
much. I'm glad we were able to lend you that.
Thank you so much. We sold a lot more tickets in the back and a few less in the front, but it all worked out. Um, I often talk in interviews about like kind of this like aha moment that I had when I was a kid about, just I had a really hard time in school and I was very shy. I had a hard time making friends and had a hard time like finding my rhythm as a human being, especially in middle school. And
Mhm.
it was for me, it was music. For me, it was a music teacher pulling me out of the back of a choir. It was also comedy though for me too. I just the fun of doing improv, the fun of like being in a class where we could just fail and try and make each other laugh and think on our feet. Um, was there
Yeah.
anybody for you at that age or a little bit younger, a little bit older that felt like that was a moment for you that made you feel like you were discovering yourself?
I mean, in middle school, I think like probably the most exciting thing that happened was doing like an interdisciplinary unit on the 1920s and doing a lot of like role playing. And I remember my friend Maria is really good at singing. And I think she was singing, like some 20 songs in the cabaret classroom. And I remember thinking like, that was where we all discovered that Maria could sing, and that was like a real revelation. But the other really huge thing in my town is we had this thing that I didn't join until high school, but a lot of my friends started much younger. We had and have, I believe it's still there, this thing called Upper Darby Summer Stage, which was a summer program that was really, really affordable. And it was run at the time by the Department of Parks and Recreation. And for like, I want to say it was like $60 for the whole summer. And you could drop your kids off at like 8:30 in the morning
Oh
and
my
pick
God,
them up at 5 and other teens would watch
that was
them and put
perfect.
them in place. But that place was kind of incredible because it was like hundreds of kids participating, and my hometown was a big suburb
Mm,
of Philadelphia. Upper
yeah,
Darby's a very large township, but hundreds of kids participating, and then thousands of little kids coming to these children's theater plays that we would do. So it was like really servicing the community. And the thing that I thought was so great about it in hindsight now as an adult too is like only a small portion of those kids went on to attempt a life in theater, and some of them do make a good living that way. But it was really just about like regular kids, like being exposed to theater, being exposed to like just the idea of like making a commitment to showing up for something and building something out of nothing and having a role in within the team of putting together a show, whether like you guys are painters, we got to get this set up, you guys are and eventually I worked there a little bit, and then I eventually came back when I was in college and
right.
directed children's shows. I would have like 60 kids in a cast, and I'd be like, all right, the 14 of you are very important. You are trees or whatever. But like
Yeah,
finding different things for
yeah,
people to do and try and have. And of course, there's always some kids you're like, oh, this kid's like amazing actual talent. But for the rest of us, it was just about like
mm,
learning new skills, meeting different kinds of people, and just really, it really was so much like what I gained in the little bit of sports that I played, where
mm,
it's about showing
yeah,
up, being part of a team, seeing improvement in skill sets just from practicing, not because of some
right,
magical amount of talent that you have, but just from showing
yeah.
up and practicing every day. and then you can do something that you couldn't do before. And I just think all of those skills are so helpful for young people, to take with them into college and into the workplace and to, into every part of their lives, to be able to get up and speak, to be able to try something new without fear of being embarrassed. It's to me, it's equally as important as sports. And I don't know that every school takes it as
It's so
importantly as
true, and
sports.
I think that athletics, like you said, do the exact same thing. It's the team building, it's confidence, it's leadership skills. It's because stepping into the arena is a muscle, and especially when you're an introverted kid, and you're somebody who not every kid needs to have that experience because they're going to go for it themselves. But for a huge number of kids, and I certainly was one of them, and it sounds like you were too, having those opportunities to do that for yourself, it changes everything. My favorite conversations are people who aren't necessarily in the arts, but talk to me about all the different ways that having that helped them become the doctor, the lawyer, whatever it is that they are now. Um, was there anything specific? Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, but I do think that sometimes we are much too early talking to kids about like study something that you can get a job at, blah blah blah. But like, but just to be a well-rounded full person, arts education. I think people feel like we're not going to push do too much of that with kids because they're not going to end. There's no um, employment future in it for everyone, but it's really not
Is
about
that
that.
is that? I mean, obviously, we always kind of pound the pavement about why it's important that kids have arts education in their classes. Was there anything for you that you learned from? Did you start doing improv when you were younger? Was there a teacher in theater that kind of introduced you to the to the muscle of funny and improvisation? And if so, was there anything about that
I,
you were
I
able to
mean,
bring into everyday life?
I think there's more improv in schools now. I didn't really find improv until after college, but I do think there were probably shows and roles within shows where it was almost like writing little skits and stuff. And I think I definitely at some point figured out like, oh, I
Yeah,
want to try to be funny. Um, and in a environment like that where you're doing lots of shows and stuff, there was enough going on that you could find like, oh, okay, I'll MC the talent show or whatever. Like, you could find something to do to try things out. But we didn't really have improv uh, in in school. But I do think it's like I think it's like my kids have
sure.
had it in school. Yeah, but the improv, I mean, why it's good for kids, especially middle school kids, because improv is inherently so embarrassing because you just have to put something out there and it's not always going to work, and kind of learning you can survive a moment of embarrassment is also super
Absolutely.
valuable.
Was there a teacher that you remember? I always bring, there's a teacher that I had that I always kind of like every time I do a concert, I try to bring him out to a concert and give him a shout out. And because teachers, they're on the front lines and they don't often know sometimes with the revolving door of kids how huge their impact has been. And I always tell people, if you have a way, a non-creepy way of finding that teacher online or whatever it is, you know, thank them and let them know, because a lot of
Yeah.
times they won't know that you're you. Like, oh, that was your little Tina from the
Oh
back of the
yeah,
class. It
that
was,
guy turned out to be that guy.
I had
Yeah.
an experience like that with a piano teacher who was doing a session of mine at Capitol Records, and I chased him out into the parking lot and I said, Rob, hi, Josh, Hancock Park. You gave me lessons when I was 10 years old. And he goes, that was you? And he goes, I've been following you this whole time. I had no idea I taught you piano. Um, yeah,
Wow,
is there
that's
anything,
crazy.
obviously you're in a position now where there's the
There's,
opportunity
there's,
for so many full circles.
yes, I mean, there's a handful of people. There's first of all the guy that sort of single-handedly started this summer stage place. He's retired now, but a guy named Harry Dietzler, who, when he was like 25 years old, got this program up and running and has dedicated his whole life to it. And we've thankfully had the opportunity to celebrate him a few
Yeah.
times, but
Yeah.
it should continue. Harry Dietzler for sure. And then teacher-wise, like I had an English teacher who was really encouraging for me to be a writer, named Mr. Novelli, my eighth grade English teacher, and he was like, "You're a writer, you should look at the world like think of yourself that
And had
way."
he seen your writing?
And
This
it
was, I mean, obviously as an English teacher, he'd read
yeah, it
your
was then
work
like
and
yeah, I had some essay. We had to write an essay from the point of view of an object, and I wrote essay that was from the point of view of a house key in like a kid's pocket, and then like thrown in the locker and stuff. And I think I probably tried to have some jokes in it. And based on that alone, he was like, on the things like, you're a writer, which having someone tell you that, see you that way is very empowering. And then I had a really nice algebra teacher, which is not surprisingly
I also
not
had a
my
great
strength.
math teacher. I was
And
terrible at
I
math,
remember
but
thanking
I remember
him.
Mr. Russell. He was an
Yeah,
amazing math teacher. Yeah.
yeah, and I was okay at algebra, but mostly I thanked him for tolerating my incessant attempts at humor to get
Mm.
around the math. I remember he was very patient with me. I was like, made a lot of jokes in algebra class to try to slow down the amount of math
Did
that was
he
being
at any time
taught.
use like your love of the arts or your love of humor to kind of help explain math problems? Like, let's say this number is the setup and this number is the punchline. It equal. Yeah. Yeah.
I will. I don't remember because I'm 54, but I do remember that he didn't
Well,
take me
thank
out of
you.
class, and that I actually retained a little bit of
On behalf of
algebra, but
the world, thank
it's
you,
all
Mr.
gone now.
Novelli, for telling young Tina to continue. On that note, I guess one of my final questions is just there's so much devastation in the world right now. There's so much confusion. I'm lucky. I mean, I'm 43. I feel so fortunate that I didn't have all the distractions that kids have now, as far as just having a constant stream of information in their hand. So many ways now that you can anonymously bully people, be mean, make less of other people.
Mhm.
It didn't take much for me as a young person, and certainly if I'd had the stream of not only like the devastating news in the world, but also just all the ways that people can get to you. There are so many incredible causes, obviously, in the world, all deserving of our time and attention and money. Um,
Mhm.
Tina, what is your feeling of why people should support the arts in schools? And you've said it already so eloquently, but
I mean, I think it's what helps connect us. It is a community building endeavor, people working together to make something beautiful or entertaining, and then also showing that to people in their community. I think we talk a lot about how to get our kids off screens, and this is a great way for kids who maybe are not athletes, or maybe they also are athletes, but to work on something that is not necessarily through technology or through social media, to paint, to sculpt, to play music, to put on a play together. These are all very mindful, creative, meditative endeavors that are great for healing anxiety, great for broadening our understanding of each other, seeing a window into another person's story. Um, it's just, I'm chilled at the idea of
yeah,
school with no arts. Like
I think
that feels just like
that's
relentless
so well said. A window into
stress.
other people's stories. It teaches empathy. It teaches us about ourselves, but also about the beauty of our differences. And thank you for we're spending a lot of time talking about mental health at this at our gala this year. We're going to be honoring Renee Fleming and Dr. Vivek Murthy, our Surgeon General, and we're going to be talking a lot about how the arts. Our theme is the arts for healing this year, and how it can really help with not only with students in schools, but also with mental health, and with loneliness, and with depression and anxiety. So not only thank you, Mr. Novelli, but thank you for all of the incredible therapy you've given me and everybody else with what you do, with your art and with your humor. Um,
Thank
and
you.
thank you for sharing so eloquently your thoughts on why this has been so important to you. And um, I noticed that there are a lot of tenors in the Mean Girls musical, and I just want to throw it out there that if you ever feel like you and Jeff ever feel like writing for a lowly baritone,
For some,
I'd be thrilled. Maybe the weird
some
teacher
adult.
who, if you want to write a
Okay,
math teacher
fair
in
enough.
sometime, it's got the weird.
How did we miss that opportunity? Yes. Okay. When we torture everyone by
Yeah,
doing it again, we will we will absolutely
exactly.
pull you in. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and thank you for everything you
Of
do to
of course.
support the arts.